Hi everybody, it's Lace, and R40 is upon us, and I failed to release my R39 video due to some technical difficulties, so I'll probably re-hit some of those highlights in a later video. So this one's going to focus mostly on R40, and then just some random things that I've come across and made notes of from people saying to me or asking questions and things like that. The R39 is also going to have that in it, as usual, because it's not just what's new in the game, it's the things that I'm asked about and stuff like that that I try to push out to a video, because if somebody's asking me about it, they didn't find the answer easy, and so I want to, push that out in a video for the folks that watch to help them along. I am dressed in a dress. That does not happen very often at all in the game. It is the add-on store outfit with the bunny tail. Somebody said, "Oh my God, I'm in the Playboy Mansion." I've dyed mine because I'm just not. If I'm gonna wear a dress, it's just got to be black for one thing, and then I just added some light blue dye, which is basically or light aqua dye, which gives nice. I like the aqua. It's funny how the aqua turned into that blue there, but that's probably something we could bug, because I would think that should be the same color as the light aqua dye I use, but because the textures of it, the dye applied differently. And then there's a third color, because we can only use two dyes, which still has that pink, which actually works for an Easter outfit in my opinion, because usually you got pink, yellow, blue. Those are kind of your colors associated with Easter. In addition, one of the things that Prism and Diamond Fields are doing for this release is we're handing out these floral bouquets. That came in new in R40, is that we can grow roses. And you can grow 4 different colors, and you can see them here. You've got orange, yellow, pink, and red. And you can use individual roses to like lay on the ground as deco or whatever, lay them on a table, on a bedside table. Or you can combine them to make a bouquet. In addition, there's a vase, and I'll show that a bit later. But yeah, you can put all these 4 and you get a nice little vase. Those are going to look really nice on some of the other new furniture, which again I'll show later. But yeah, so I'm going around just hopping from NPC town to NPC town to POT towns and stuff. I'm using my friends list, and if I see 2 or 3 folks in a certain, POT or something, I'll hop in there to the zone and I'll say, "Hey folks, I'm at your zone in." Well, I'll say it a little more eloquently than that, but I'm here to spread some hoppy Easter love. And that kind of goes in hand with our upcoming crafting event, which will be 4/15 of this month. We do them every month. And we've kind of decorated the pavilion and stuff in kind of an Easter theme. And we've got Hoppy Easter spelled out in carrots with a little bunny rabbit spelled out in gold kodos with a couple other ones for his eyes and stuff. You can see that and any other upcoming events that folks post on the forums a couple different ways. You can go to avatarscircle.com, or you can go to the forums and then scroll down to let's see, I think it's called player created events. Let me check that real quick and get that exact term. 1 second. It's called early access community events, and then they break them out by the release. So R40 would show our next crafting event, and then there's also a place to look as well in there that is future and recurring events. Probably Avatar Circle is better, because if today is the day you're logged in, you can go to there and see every event for today, because that's probably all you're really interested in. You're not necessarily planning out everything, weeks and days in advance, but if you want particular details on stuff, the forums are a better way to include pictures and better descriptions and directions than you can get off, say, a Google Calendar entry, which is what drives Avatar Circle, basically. Wow, that was like a huge mouthful, but that's a way to find events, and that's why we're doing the Hoppy Easter from Prism and Diamond Fields as part of our crafting event, and Hoppy Easter. New in R40 is the ability to kill the death bunny. You've had that recipe that you might have gotten off the vendor in Ardoris or off of a POT pet merchant, for your mountable heads. Well, finally you can get that bunny head and mount it. Again, I'll show a picture of that later as well. I did go out and just, kind of went with a pickup group and did it last night. You need to be there 8 times to do it, so each person gets, a bunny head, and it is absolutely very good etiquette. Don't leave after you get your bunny head. People will pretty much hate you and never want to group with you again. Uh, um, somebody's like, "Oh, I got to go help somebody." I'm like, "Well, yeah, you got your bunny head, but there's a lot more of us that still need to get the bunny head. You just took off and then came back, and took off and didn't help for 3 or 4 times. Not that we died or anything, but it's just good manners and etiquette. And this is gonna come true when you're doing a group that's trying to get, like, I don't know, doing daemons or something, daemons/demons and stuff, and everybody's trying to maybe get that lucky artifact. You do it 8 times, once for every time in the group. Yes, it takes an hour and something to keep rinsing and repeating, but that's just, don't be a dick. Don't go running off, oh, someone needs my help. No, you committed to this. We counted on you and want your help. I'm sorry that you already got yours, but some of us are waiting. And, sorry, little rant there. Just, proper etiquette in groups. So, like I said, I'll be running around in my little bunny outfit. I kind of did it a couple days ago, and I was just in my regular gear because it took me a while to get my little outfit together, get it dyed right. So I'll be handing out the rose bouquets. Probably don't buy them off anybody's vendor, even mine, even though I sell them, because you'll probably get one for free. I wanted to show the new furniture, and so this was the vase that I was talking about. It's also the 4 flowers, just like in the bouquet. This is the new cabinet. Look at the intricate detail. I don't have Uber graphics cards, and the lighting's kind of poor because it's nighttime right now, and I only have a light spell going. But you can see the detail in the woodwork and how beautiful this is. This is player crafted. Basically, it takes a dresser, and then you make a small cabinet, and then you make this. So it's three steps to make it, and it ends up being quite a bit of wood. So don't expect to see them super cheap unless somebody just has a billion wood that they're getting rid of. Same thing with the large carved oak. They're both containers. I think there's an issue where they're not exactly opening now, where you can put stuff in them. They're just opening. And maybe that was by design, that they aren't a container like a box, but they don't stack, or I mean, a container like a trunk or a chest, and they're meant to where you could open them and put things in them. I don't know. Let's see if I have anything in my inventory I could stick in there to test this out, because I haven't really looked. Well, let's see if this loot would go in there. Ah, well, yeah, see? I can put my loot in there. So maybe they're meant to be a display cabinet, but they're counting as a container, where containers you can't put inside of other things, which means if you have a bunch of them in your inventory, you can only store them in your bank or put them on display. You can't stick them in a trunk. So that might be something we might want to ask the devs about. This is a display case, not a container, and they're acting like a container, which means we can't put them in we can't store them easily without storing them in our bank. Kind of like the 100 Yule stockings I have right now. They used to be in a box called Christmas, and now they're all in my bank. Yay for that. Same thing with any of the gift boxes that you bought from the add-on store from Christmas. You're stuck only putting them in your bank. You can't store them in a nice, lovely labeled Christmas box, because no more container and container. But this shows that I guess the effect would be is they'd have to be open. The only problem is that I believe, like, when you log out or something, this would end up closing. This door would end up closing, and so nobody would ever see unless they're really nosy in your house and clicking on everything to see what you got stashed in there. The table, the side table, the new side table, it's going to look suspiciously much like the small writing desk, except it's a way better color, I think. It's a much richer color than that kind of putrid brown that the old one was. It's almost exactly the same, and it actually takes a small writing desk and then some more wood to make this one. I'm probably going to replace every small writing desk, which is a container, with these, because this is more perfect to me and more beautiful to me. Imagine this with a little vase of flowers. How pretty is that? A big upgrade to your house. For you hunters out there, yes, I know I'm boring you with deco. The other new thing is the weapon rack, and I haven't actually tried to put a weapon in this. Let's see if I've got one on me here. No, oh, I've got my flowers. I actually haven't tried to use this yet because I have plans for them, I've actually made quite a few of them, and they are board intensive. Let's see if we can get it to leg right. Well, it's laying that way. I'm using a halberd. Imagine other things. I don't know if we can rotate these when we're trying to place them. Let's see. Because new in this release as well is the ability to, there we go. You can do the R like you do a book or something, and in there I can display my halberd in my weapon rack. And then when I move my weapon rack, nope, it's not really attached to it, but it is sitting there. So it is they're not attached to it, so it's not going to move with it. So make sure you've got your rack in the correct place before you put your weapons on them for display. For those of you that are wanting to have armor shops and weapon shops, remember the first iteration was musical instruments, and again, I missed doing the video on that, where you can place all the musical instruments. I will shoot one because I do want to show some things about how you can place them. And this next iteration, R40, is where we get to place our weapons. And then the next one, I do believe, is when we're going to be able to place armor in our homes. So again, for folks wanting to have quote unquote an armor shop, not only could you put stuff on your vendor, maybe you put special stuff, negotiated prices on a table with a little flyer that says negotiate price for something really expensive that you're not going to list it on the vendor for as much as it is, but you might take a trade or you might do something like that. It's a different way to sell things, in my opinion. I haven't heard anybody talk about this, but for me it's absolutely what I'm going to do when I do finally actually open a real armor shop. Right now you guys are just getting my seconds and thirds and maybe an occasional first that I sell to people, but eventually that's my plan, and I suggest others adopt it as well. Is that for the good weapons, you put a few of them on your vendor, but then the really good ones you might just not place quite for sale on a vendor, but say, look, I'll trade for this, or I'm willing to trade for Kodos, or this or that or the other, and you show them in your house, in your display, and you have then a real shop. At least, that's my RP style for having a store, is it's not just going to be come in here and buy. It's a 7-Eleven. We'll talk about it. Maybe we can work a deal. So if you don't have a lot of money, I'll take something in trade, and it'll give the sellers a different way to buy things if they don't, if they're cash poor or whatever. Anyway, so that's one of the things that I think will be a good use for a weapon rack. Now, since we're going to be able to place armor, who knows? I don't know that this is going to happen, but maybe we will get an armor rack. Wouldn't that be cool? We've already seen practice dummies. We've seen scarecrows. I don't know. I don't know if it's coming, but I would certainly love to see it. For some of you returning players, you may notice this little thing up here in my upper left. What is that? It's a quest tracker, which ties into your hit J for journal and your current tasks. There is a differentiation between tasks, apparently, and knowledge journal. And things like the Death Bunny quest is going into the knowledge journal. I don't know what the distinction is right now to explain that to you between tasks. You're going to see my journal is very full because I'm actually avoiding doing quests right now. But for those of you guys actively doing them, when you mouse over it in your window right here, you don't have to tab out, read through the book, and try to reread everything. See the little tooltip there? It's that's like a little hint, and then here's the big hint, and then you can go to your book for the full. If you picked this quest up 2 months ago, and you're like, what was I supposed to do? You can see it here and go, okay, yeah, but why was this for? And then you can go back to your book and actually look at it. And think about there's been some new emotes. If I hit O for emotes, one of the ones that you'll see some of the NPCs doing that I just really like is this one, read book. I really just think look at that. I think that's a cool emote. Because one, it's going to signify to somebody if they're standing by you locally in an area and you have this out, that's almost like an AFK flag to me. That means I'm probably doing something and I'm not ignoring you, but I've got my nose in a book. So you'll probably see me make use of this when I'm standing somewhere, and this happens sometimes as I'm standing somewhere and somebody will say something, and maybe I'm in the bathroom or I'm letting the dogs out or something, Maybe I'll try to remember to always put my book out. And if you see me with my book out, I'm probably not really there, or I'm, engaged somehow in my book. There's a few other ones, and I think they just, they were added. You didn't have to go to an NPC to find them or anything. But I really just, I love this. You're going to see the NPCs and stuff doing this, but you can do it too, to where you're reading a book. And I've already seen players starting to make use of this emote. I think it's a great RP emote. I wanted to touch on that one. Well, there's also a large kettle drum, which I actually haven't crafted yet. There's some table lamps, and I actually don't have one on display right now. There's also a large harp. So think of these as versions, as a sit-down version, kind of like the piano. One of the things I was going to put in the R39 video is, pardon me, is that the piano recipe's back. Remember before you could just make one, by discovery, and then when they introduced all the, you have to learn the recipe or buy the recipe now all the time, somehow the piano disappeared. And for several postmortems and stuff, folks are like, where's the piano recipe? Where's the piano recipe? Well, it is back, and I did find it on the Carpenter and Xenos, and he was actually where I got all my oak cabinet ones. The flower vase one, did I get there? I believe I got the flower vase and the bouquet that I have there. The lamps I got from Solania. What else came out new? I think that's most of the recipes. If I missed any, I'm sure by now, it's a couple days in, you can ask somebody and they'll know where to find them. Um, Next, I want to move to the Death Bunny quest, which came out for this release. And you could have the mountable heads, like I said, of all the different ones, all the different bears, all the different wolves, and alligators and stuff like that. Well, the bunny hadn't been in the game, so you couldn't get that one. So the next place we're going to stop off is Ardoris, and that's where to get the quest. So I will pick up there and show you where that's at, and kind of just give you a quick run through of the quest as a spoiler. You'll be able to skip through that later if you want to, and I'll give an indication of it, but it's probably going to take me probably the next 10 minutes of the video to get through that little, here's where you get the quest and all that. So you can, fast forward to that. I'll be changing into my armor and then coming back to the bunny outfit. So that'll be your visual indicator if you're fast forwarding through the YouTube video, that if I'm back in this armor, then we're done with the spoiler of the Death Bunny quest. And that's for the folks that just want to figure it out on their own. And I got no problem with that. So, swapping gear and heading over to Ardoris. So, we're going to kind of do this in real time. And rather than taking the boat guide and stuff, I'm going to just try to show you from the entrance to Ardoris. Now, the entrance, for some reason, yesterday changed, and it would have been a different way to find this guy. Let's see if I can find it again from when it's back to where it should be, the entrance. I don't know why the city's main entrance changed, but basically I'm just running through. Use the Oracle as your sightline. We're basically going to head towards the Oracle Tower there, confirmatory, whatever you want to call it, as a way to find this, the guy that you're going to want to find to get the quest for the bunny. I'm trying to remember. I know it was this way. Yeah. So just bear with me. There'll probably be some dead air here as I'm just running through. If you haven't looked at Ardoris lately, well, obviously it's a lot prettier. We're going to be going kind of to the south-southeast area. Probably can go up here, I think, and cut over. I know kind of where I want to go. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to get there from here and stuff. Let's see. I don't remember where all the dead ends and things are. I remember aqueducts, so I think that's kind of a good sign. I think it's more south, but again, I don't know if I can get there from here. I'm going to jump down. Let's see. If this ends up being a big fail, well, then I'll reshoot the video and do it a different way, but I think we're kind of going the right way. Definitely wasn't with a bunch of cherry trees, and it wasn't with all this pretty stuff. I might be lost. Let's see, I know it's southeast. have to go more this way. Might have been closer to the docks, but it might be too far as well. Let's see. It was definitely by some aqueducts. Yeah, this might be a fail. This is not looking familiar. There's definitely no cherry trees. Was in between some row houses, and there's some aqueducts. This could be it, maybe. How do I get over there? Looking. We're just gonna cut and skip. Definitely just don't remember seeing any cherry trees. Is this the guy? Hello? Not talking to me. This is the guy. Look at that. I did it. Oh my goodness. Now, if you could follow how I got here from the video, you're doing good. But the old mage is who you want to talk to. We could do name. And now we get his name as Timothy. And I purposely didn't do that last night because I wanted to be able to show you how he was intact, that he's very nondescript unless you're looking for him. So it is to the southeast, like I said. Well, it's kind of northeast, southeast. And I guess, like somebody said to me, it's very hard to explain how to get there. Well, aqueducts, heading out towards the dock kind of area, and he's off to the left. That's kind of how I remembered how to get to him. I don't believe right now, and this is just as of 4/2 Sunday, when you go to turn it back into him after you get the quest from him, I think he's a little broken right now, so a lot of us haven't been able to actually, quote-unquote, turn in the quest for XP and stuff. But you can still go and do it and do the bunny, and this is where he's located. I'll give you a loc on screen. If that helps some folks, there you go. There's his loc. I don't have that in there. I usually don't have all my random conversations going on. But there's his location right there here in Ardoris. So that's where you're going to get the quest from. The next place to go is going to be to the Spectral mines, which are located off the Spectral foothills, not Spectral mountains. There's two places north of Ardoris. We want to go to the mines. Now, I'm going to pick up there because you can figure out how to get there on your own. Just remember, Spectral foothills. I will go from Spectral foothills to show you how to get to the mines for those that have never really run that path. There's obsidian wolves and stuff like that. It's a tier 5 area. So you probably don't want to go alone. And you're going to need a group for the bunny quest. You're going to probably need 8 people. And as mentioned earlier, stick around and help everybody out. Don't just get your bunny head and leave. Because that leaves the last couple of people like, hello, Bueller. So I will pick you back up at the Spectral foothills once I've zoned into that area. Okay, so I'm just right at the zone in here at Spectral Foothills, and you're going to want to make a left through this little hollowed out tunnel here. Of course, there's 5 mobs there. Every time I come through here, there's nobody, but today there's 5 mobs. I'm just going to go up that way, and then I'm going to make a right, and all through here there's going to be bears and obsidian wolves and cobblus and just tons of stuff going on. And they're going to be attacking me, and I'm just going to basically train through this, even as a lower level person, going with a group to do the Death Bunny. Don't think everybody has to be high. Mainly just if you've got one good tank and everybody's, working to heal them and stuff, then you're going to be fine. I actually did it last night with a predominantly large group of casual and crafter types. Thank goodness for our tank, and I'm going to say their name wrong, but Aidenholm Rosenborn, I believe, is the correct name. Let me check my friends list. Hold on, let's see if they're on. and I can actually do their, yep, that's it right there. Edelgnome Rosemorn, very good tank for us and really made the event successful. Also good leadership in teaching us how to do this and do it and repeat it 8 times with the least amount of time in between switching up and repartying. And let me cover that real quickly before I go in. Basically, your group will go in here the first time and we'll go and we'll kill the Death Bunny. What we started doing is that I would zone to overland map. I'd log in, log out, and yes, I know that sounds like an exploit kind of thing, but I would log in, start on overworld map, leave group, run all the way right back in here all by myself, go back all the way into the mines all by myself, then rejoin the group, be tossed the party leadership position of the group. Aid would then log out and go back to overworld map. Meanwhile, everybody else was going back to overworld map. And then when they came in, they could click on my shield and go right into the mines, right where I was at in the mines. And we started a new instance and we rinsed and repeated. It took us a few times to get the kinks worked out and everybody understanding what the mechanic was of how we were trying to reset this as fast as possible. So we were not here for 4 hours to kill the Death Bunny 8 times and things like that. Other alternatives would be is everybody comes back out again. You reform, everybody drops the group and then you reform the group with a new leader and go in and start a new instance. But that's what we had to do it. I hope that made sense. So I will meet you inside the mines now. So we're inside Spectral Mines. I'm gonna get a little light on the situation. I actually mine here quite a bit. It's just iron. There's no silver. There's no gold or anything, but I mine here quite a bit to do meteoric and stuff like that or whatever, armor and things like that to get a lot of iron for that. I actually like this mine. It can be a little rough if you're an early T5 person. If you really haven't spent a lot of time in T5 and gotten some levels, the mobs can gang up on you, and they're all mages and casters for the most part. You'll get some skeletal footmen, so you're going to want to have a really good, effective deck against undead in here if you're mining. While this is about the Death Bunny, I just kind of wanted to cover that. And to go to the mines, you're just going to go down these tracks in there. It's not real big in that area, but yeah, just you can get overwhelmed in there pretty easy, especially as a new T5 kind of person. For the Death Bunny quest, however, what we're going to do is we're just going to go down, and there's this little crack right here that we're going to squeeze through. We're going to squeeze through this crack and go around here. And I want to thank Shadowleaf, who's the one that actually showed me where this was. I'm sure Aid knew too. Oh, that's right, you need a key. It's probably messaging me for a key. But anyway, you're going to drop down into here. Now, when your group drops down into here for the first time that your group's been doing this, everybody just kind of freaking chill. Hang back right here. Don't go running off because there's chests up there and this and that and the other. Yes, there's a few chests here and there and stuff. You're here to kill the Death Bunny. You're not here to get loot. You're not here to kill more mobs than you need to. We are on a mission, folks, here. What was the Blues Brothers? A mission from God. Yeah, we're doing a Blues Brothers mission. So just everybody freaking chill. Hang tight. Don't go running off willy-nilly. If your group stays together, does a ready check and says ready, and you have your tank lead, nobody's going to die. But if you have lower level players with you and they go running off first, they're going to draw aggro, and ghosts and the other things that are coming down the line are going to kill them. And then you have to wait because you're probably not going to be able to res them because their body's going to fall to the bottom of a cavern and things like that. I'm going to save your group some time for this from the things that I learned just in doing this 8 times last night. Stay together. Lead with a tank. When somebody says ready, you all go. You don't go running off in 5 directions. It's common sense, but it happens, man. Even to the most tried and true adventurers, there's a Leroy Jenkins that's going to be in your group. So here we go. So we're just going to go around. I'm going to start getting beat on by these mobs. We're just going to go across this bridge. We're heading north. And I'm going to make a right turn. Nothing's attacking me, right? Because I'm trying to show you being attacked. Anyway, going around. There's ghosts and everything like that. You can't just straight run. You're going to have to hop because you'll actually literally get stuck on the terrain when you're running. So just be prepared to hop. Don't think that you can just, hit an auto run and go. There's a couple places where you can get stuck. Be careful up here. Do not go off the cavern. You want to go up the ramp. Now, you can have right up here as a regrouping point. See, stuck on the train. You can have right here as a nice regrouping point. Most of the mobs you'll run off. You might have to deal with a few ghosts and stuff. But because your whole group's running together, it shouldn't be a problem for your group to kill the ghosts. But this is a good point. Everybody does their final buff checks, calls any pets they want to get, kills any ghosts that have followed us up this way, and things like that, just like I've done here solo. So if I can do it solo, and I'm definitely not a great fighter, where's the loot? Give me the loot. Then your group will be fine. Now I'm going to run in here and show you the death bunny, and then I'm going to run out really quick because there's no way in hell I'm going to solo him. I might try to prolong my life for the video with the healer here as my pocket water elemental. But yeah, what our tank was doing is we'd follow the tank in. The tank would go down there. There's our death bunny. Yep, and it's like 12k. Let's see if I can get a tab on him. You can see his hit points. Maybe it's 24. I can't see how many hit points. But anyway, we do that, and we'd fight him right around in here. See, I'm already dying. Yeah, well, I'm not healing, and I'm not buffed or anything. But, yeah. So that would be where the area we'd fight him. We take turns skinning him. I'm just running out now, so maybe I won't die. Since this is live, not test, and I don't really want to lose that XP. But that's what we do. I don't know how far his leash is. I'll probably have to do another ghost here. Okay, yeah, good. He went away. But that was the death buddy, and he's a little tiny thing. And when he dies, well, I felt very sad because the way he laid sprawled out on the ground. But that's how you do the death bunny. We will pick up in Diamond Fields for the next part of the new stuff that we've seen in R40. And for those of you that were looking for an indication, I'm getting ready to change clothes into, here we go. We're going to go into our bunny outfit. And when you see the bunny outfit, the spoiler is done. There we go. And I'm just going to call back to Diamond Fields, and I'll meet you there in a second. So we've just gone through killing the death bunny, and you're like, is it really worth my time to group with 8 people and do this 8 times? I would say yes, just for this right here, the mounted death bunny. You can see I absolutely need a second one. So if you're looking for somebody that wants to come and help you guys do it, I very much would like a second death bunny head. You can absolutely invite me because it's very cute. It's not something I would do a million of, but it kind of, look at that, that kind of looks like a bunny. I'm not quite sure what that is on the Shooter Jennings album cover, but it just seems to fit that there should be 2 death bunny heads right here in the crafting pavilion in Diamond Fields. That was one of the things I want to show you here. Obviously, some things have changed here because we did go to Metropolis, and I've talked about the Hoppy Easter promotion. There you go. There's my poor artwork with the bunny and the Hoppy Easter. Hey, come on, I spelled it out in carrots. I should get points for that, right? But anyway, yeah, we've put in roads. Governors all over Novia are putting in roads. It used to be this little tiny thing that used to be like one single stone at a time. And your deco limits on a Metropolis are 260 max total items you could place. So if you're talking about a paver that is basically this big, you could have 260 of them in your town. No trees, no nothing, nothing else. That was what we were limited to. Then they made the 4x1s, which, and that's what this is. So now instead of 260 multiplied by 4, that's what, 800, 4, 320, 1120. You can now have 1120 4x1s, but that's really not going to do much for your roadway system. But now we have 4 by, I don't know, let's see how long. I'm going to act like I'm going to move it. Let's see if we can get a good camera angle. That's now 1 item. Now we can actually, you can kind of see the green. Let's see if I can get it to a red, maybe show up better on camera. Now you can see how big it is. That's now 1 item against your 260 item count in a metropolis. If you have a crossroads or even one of the small little hamlets and stuff, or I forget all the different sizes, you have even less than 260. Okay, the big guys, which I keep saying Metropolis because I'm very happy because we went to Metropolis this time. Yes, I have more money than sense. Diamond Fields is a Metropolis, but it allowed me to put in decent roadways, which for me, the point of a roadway is to direct folks to where my residents have vendors and things like that. And that was also actually part of the initial design of Diamond Fields, is to have this horseshoe shaped thing around the crafting pavilion because I'm a big time crafter and I wanted this to be a place where crafters liked. But in addition to that, we have all this waterfront lots and stuff that folks have developed and things like that. That's a whole nother video. I don't want to get too much into Diamond Fields because we're not all about me today. But the roadway pavers, that's for all POTs and stuff. There's some unique shapes like these two wedges. You can put two wedges in to kind of give you a pointed path. That's what we've done. In R39, the devotionals were introduced. Each one gives a different buff, and that's going to be based on your town size that has it. Each NPC town, I believe, as of R40, now has at least one devotional. But if you're in a smaller POT town, you could only have so many devotionals. The devotionals are linked to the size of the town. Because we're Metropolis, we could have all of them if we so chose, and have other things too. And we did choose that. But what I did is, a lot of folks have just lined them up in a straight line. It's like boom, 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 and pick your thing. No, we got to be a little more aesthetically pleasing here. So what I did is I did a triangle pattern of 3. I backlit them so that at night, and you can't see it so much in the day right now, you can kind of see how it makes them glow though. Kind of makes them look a little better. They're really awfully huge to me. I really wish they had been smaller, but because they're so giant. Oh, look, I moved that bush. I was probably moving these to make them look a little better. Let's fix that. Fix that bush. There we go. And then I put a sign up. And what I did is I put up a sign by each grouping of 3, and I strongly suggest this for other POT owners, is try to group them and give your folks a direction of what the buff is, because if you mouse over it currently, and I don't know if they're going to fix it, it just says it's a devotional of courage. Well, what does that mean? Well, if I mouse over the signs, it says courage is a strength buff. Okay, great. So now I can go over to the next group, and I put these 3 very specifically near a crafting pavilion, and you'll see why when I go to, and again, this is probably R39 stuff, but I didn't have a way to show this until I could wait till R40 and, display it properly in this POT, my POT, so now this is this grouping of 3. We have compassion, sacrifice, and valor. So compassion gives me a dodge and tailoring buff. Sacrifice gives me a health regen and carpentry buff. And valor gives me a health and blacksmith. Obviously, tailoring, carpentry, blacksmith are placed here because that's our crafting pavilion and where we're going to have our events. We want to make it easy for the folks visiting here who are coming here to mentor to get those buffs. So I have mine kind of logically grouped that way. The ones that were over here that we just, looked at, that's strength, dex, int. There's nothing else with them. To me, that's something you get on your way in or way out. You're just looking for those. It's a hunting thing, and that's why they're there. Moving along to our next grouping of 3, the logic behind this. And again, I'm just showing this because other POT owners may want to consider this instead of just lining them up straight, because I think that's kind of cheap and ugly. So I'm trying to encourage you to be more beautiful in your POT design. This one's honesty, justice, and honor. From a crafting standpoint, we've got alchemy, cooking, and agriculture, which still are, once again, semi-near there, but not as close to the exit. You're going to say, well, what are these other 2? Because there's 11. We've gone through 9. We've got 2 more. And I may need to still adjust the space a little bit in between these because you really kind of have to, run up on it to get the buff. See, there, that one just refreshed. And it'll replace it. So if you're not careful where you're running, you might pick up one you don't want. I had one complaint that mine are a little too close together, but I only have so much land to work with here. and where and how I wanted to present this. So I may have to try to do a little bit more scooching this way and that to make the paths clear. But anyway, let's see. These last two, I believe they're both fishing. Yeah, fishing bait recovery and fishing level, so they're kind of near the docks, which makes sense. And then their primary things, which is the magic resist or adventure level. Now, the way the devotionals work, and again, this would have been in the R39 video that I didn't get, produced and published and stuff. I wanted to show it exactly in a way that I thought that would help other people either learn how maybe to organize their devotionals better. And you can say to me, well, why didn't you put some over here? Well, the reason is because I really like this person's piece of property, one of my residents. I like the way it looks. And if I put them all over here, when you're coming into the town, you would have missed how beautiful that is. So let's see, let's go back over here. I just want to show you. If all that had been over here, you'd never see that. But on the other side of it, there's nothing back there. Now, we do have one resident home back there, but it's further down the road. You wouldn't see that from the entrance anyway. So that was part of my decision-making process. And your governor should, hopefully be thinking of things like that. How do you showcase, folks' homes in the best way that are your, dedicated residents? And then also, how do you give convenience to it? So that's kind of why it's laid out that way. You may disagree with how I've laid it out as close as they are and thought that it would have been better to spread it out. Sure, I could bring these back, but then I lose the tree. I was trying not to lose my trees that are natural to this template. It's one of the reasons I love this template. You see so many that are just a flat cobblestone plane, and then the POT owner has to spend decoration slots to put trees down, and secondly, they have to buy trees from the add-on store to put those trees down. So I'm using what's naturally here in this template to not only make it pretty, but functional as well, with the minimal amount of cost to my wallet. So I think that kind of covers devotionals, and it covers the bunny head. There's a couple more things I wanted to show in here. This was R39 also, and R38, I believe. R38 and R39, something that I haven't really gone into in either one of those. And that was the addition of water-placed items. You can see this boat way out here. This is a boat from the add-on store that we could place out in the water. You can look out here. Now that's just a regular land decoration, part of the POT 260 limit on Metropolis. But you can see there's something out here. I have some residents with the houses down here, and it has a natural path down to the beach shore. And then what I've done is I've put a little area for them to hang out, swim, fish, and sunbathe. And they actually made use of it today for the first time since I put it in. In addition, we have these water platforms that are craftable. And just be warned, it's a crap ton of wood, a lot of metal and stuff to make them. Because if you go out here and you swim out to them, they're floating barrels on a platform, just like you kind of see in real life, and a little ladder that puts you on them. So now you can fish and sunbathe and do whatever you're going to do on them, probably fish and stuff like that. And coming up in R40, possibly R41, but I'm going to shoot for it to happen in R40, we are going to have a fishing derby here in Diamond Fields, and we're going to utilize these. They might need to be spread out a little more because, as you know, your casting range goes up the higher the level you are as a fisherman. So we'll probably spread them out a little bit. And I have some plans to make it interesting as a fishing tournament. But we're going to start utilizing these platforms. Some of my residents donated some wood and stuff. Usually I just kind of make everything out of my own pocket. But I was like, man, these are really taking a lot of resources. Is anybody able to help? And the town came to answer the call. And so we'll get a few more of those made. We'll get them spread out. We'll get the rules of the contest done up, the logistics tested, and look for a fishing derby here in Diamond Fields. But mostly I just wanted to point out to town owners, just putting in little aesthetic touches like this, like there's a little cabana kind of thing there going on. We got one over there. These are the things that they're just nice little RP touches. And rather than everybody come live in my town and sell your stuff, yeah, do something nice, that just makes it aesthetically pleasing. At least that's my philosophy. So I just kind of wanted to touch on that, because we're being given more and more tools to do that. And in R40, it was these giant roadway pavers. So I guess I could just one last thing as the sun's getting ready to set here on Diamond Fields is one last thing on the devotionals. We are a sub POT, which means we don't quote unquote go under siege, because we connect to other ones that may or may not be under siege. So if you live here and you're doing a recall, you'll have no problem. The other thing is if you go down to our docks, you can see we have a lot of connections to other places. So while let's say you typically just always go Port Phoenix docks to here to get home or whatever, you have many choices to get here from all the POTs in the area, be they island, be they mountainous, like with the balloon of lamplight and things like that. Also, with that being said, to me, this place seems like a logical rallying point for folks that want to do sieges. We have connections to, I don't know if it's 7 or 8 or 9 or whatever, but what happens is when they're under siege, I don't know if any are, let's see, for the purpose of the video, see if nobody's under siege there. To me, it seems like this would be kind of a good idea to have a rallying point someplace that has connections to all the sieges. You can wander the overland map to see if there's a siege taking place, but depending on the devotionals that these places have, the devotionals that these POTs have placed, they're going to come under siege at certain times. Again, you can kind of predetermine this based on looking at the sky and the constellations. Again, that goes into the astrolabe and the dark star moon dial, which I do want to cover in another video, but you can almost basically predict when towns are going to be under siege and stuff like that. And that's NPC towns and things like that. And it's based on the devotional that they have placed and the Kabbalist associated to it. It's a little complex to try to explain all that in the video, but to me, being able to stand here and go, under siege? Yes. Oh, look, there's a siege, let's go. And it's almost like a rallying point. So if you guys want to ever try to do that, use this place as a rallying point for siege hunters, I think it's a good idea, and I think we might even do an event where we hang out here and just wait for sieges. If once again, if I can get the predictive model done that I want to do, which again goes back to the sky and the constellations of the sky and how they move through and how the planets and stuff interact with those constellations determines which Kabbalist is going to attack. The Kabbalist associated with that devotional is going to attack, and that would be in multiple locations, obviously. Now, because we have all 11, but because we're not overland, we will not be attacked. That's I had kind of maybe an opportunity if I wanted to go to overland with this POT, and I think I pretty much like us not being an overland POT, especially down with the devotionals, because we don't have to worry about sieges. I know there's been some people complaining about that on the forums. It's like, well, how come they don't have sieges? Well, because you can't see how many people live in our town. You can't see how many platforms there are. You can't see how many smokestacks or chimneys there are. So if we don't have those other advantages, you can't just disadvantage us totally. You've already disadvantaged us enough. You have no idea anything about us from the overland map, so why should we be attacked? Because you technically have to go through another town to get to us. So it kind of makes sense logistically. We'll see how that evolves over time. Because there could be some crying, well, how come they got all the devotionals, but they never get attacked? Well, yeah, we're not on the overland. That's all I got to say about that. You want to move us to the overland for free? No problem. We'll take the attacks, baby. Bring it on. I popped over because the night sky is pretty darn clear tonight. It's not too overcast. I popped over to Siren Song Bayou, one of our sister POTs, which is very much not developed. It's all custom placement right now. It doesn't have the city plan that Diamond Fields has, and I really don't want to promote it until Diamond Fields is more full, and then this would be an alternative living location. for folks. But anyway, the reason I popped over here is we do have the giant boat here, which we use for the boat emote parties, which is where we just, have everybody come together and trade emotes, especially for new players that may not have some, and this isn't so much the ones you get from the NPCs, these will be mostly pledge related, or just to help folks not have to go run around to all the NPCs. But I wanted to come over here to this boat, and I may move this item, but right now it makes sense for it to be on a ship to me, and that is the Darkstar Moondial, like I mentioned. When I double click on that, and then I go and look at the sky, I want you to see what happens. You can see the constellations outlined. I don't know the names of all of them. Obviously that one looks like Libra from regular mythology, and this boat may not be actually the best place to look at them. It's where it's activated. But let's get out in the water. Maybe we can see a little bit freer of a sky. No, that's not giving us a good look either. See, perfect place for one of those water platforms out here. But anyway, when you see this, let's see if I can find one of the planets or something. Not seeing any of the planets quite yet visible in the sky. But like, let's say like there's the green planet, the red planet, the swirling thing. It's a little early in the night. You can see as they move, and what's going to happen is, as one of those planets moves into that constellation, that's going to be how the sieges end up being determined. So I kind of wanted to show that. Again, I don't see any. Oh, there's one. So like if this moves into that, then there's going to be a siege associated with that Kabbalist. At least that's how I believe it to be. Bowen Bloodgood is going to be the authority on all this. I'm still learning about the sky and the constellations and stuff. But I wanted to show you what that moondial did is basically the same thing as what an astrolabe did. An astrolabe can be crafted by a blacksmith, or an alchemist, and it's something equipable, and when you use it, you would get the same thing where you can see the constellations in the sky and see their patterns, and you can see the planets moving in. It looks like we got a planet coming up on the horizon over there. I can see it kind of through the trees, I think right there. I don't know the names of all these. Eventually I will learn all that. But I think it's a cool part of this game to understand how things don't just happen randomly. It's not just some random timer. It's tied to the evolving world around you. So you'll see this move over time, like it's like partway through the line later, and if we, waited a few minutes to be back through, yeah, this is not a very active sky view that we've got right here. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have, this isn't a really great active one. But that's how it's going to work, and I just kind of wanted to point that out because I don't think enough people understand or appreciate the intricacies of the sky and how it applies to the world. I mean, they've really spent some time going into this. Okay, so this looks like this one's moving right, so our rotation's kind of to the right and stuff. So it's not going to go that way. It looks like it moved more to the right than to the left. But sometimes if you just sit here and do a static still frame shot and you come back a few minutes later, you will have seen it move. So it's not like it's a real-time update of the sky as you're standing there. And so, players go, oh my god, it's laggy and stuff. But think about all the things that are going on in the background. Look at the sky, moving around and stuff. Again, you can't see these purple things unless you use an astrolabe or the Darkstar Moondial. Oh, shooting star. Make a wish. See how cool that stuff is? I don't know. I find it cool. And again, I've only gone to one only, and that's because I'm just usually so busy of Bowen's classes. He teaches this stuff very freely, and I encourage everybody to at least go to one to just even have basic conversational knowledge of the sky. Yeah, that one kind of looks like it's twisting and turning, the one that we were observing. See how it's now kind of, just because of the angle of it, makes it a little bit harder to see. Up there, it's coming back more into focus. But it still looks like it's moving right to me. I could be wrong on that, and again, I'd observe it better if I stared at that point for longer. But anyway, just a little thing to throw in there. I do want to cover this more, but I need to get more knowledge from him to do it justice, just to even give a preliminary accounting of it. Yeah, this isn't a super active sky as far as celestial bodies go, along with the actual constellations. But this is something you wouldn't be able to see in the normal sky had you not clicked on an astrolabe or the dark star metronome. It kind of lays it out and gives you a visualization. And again, this ties to the Kabbalist activity and the sieges. So I hope this was some. Oh well, now it looks like it's going left. I don't know. I'm probably just losing my mind, but depending on where I'm standing on the shore, let's see. I guess that's where I'm standing on the shore and my perception of it. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of throw that in there as a little last tidbit and a teaser for upcoming videos. So, with day breaking on Siren Song Bayou, a very underutilized town. Wow, that's a lot of sun glare, huh? Anyway, I just wanted to say happy hunting, everybody. Take care, be safe, and Hoppy Easter. Look for me to be handing out what? Those flower bouquets and stuff. See ya.